as much as he has been ready for. He says, I couldn't pump anything out of the boss as to what really happened and who did it. But he implied it was just before the turn of the century that this actual exploration took place. Now we have the stories, also, we know about the Alternative 3 program, but there are also now documentaries which show that the Germans went to the moon and Mars in 1949 with the circular foil aircraft. Probably the rest of the engineering was perfected down in Antarctica, because they prepared these bases in Antarctica in 1939 after the 2 years of exploration and moved there before the war collapsed. How many moved there, I don't know, but there are rumors that there were thousands of German troops moved into Antarctica in the prepared quarters they had. And they continue their manufacturing either down there or in one of the friendly South American countries, such as Argentina, as one example. But they finished the development. They made the circular foil aircrafts. Pictures show them as quite large. Building in, if you can believe this, in 1943 aircraft, circular foil designs which were 75 meters in diameter and carried naval guns under the turrets underneath them. If not naval guns, Panzer-mounted guns direct from their tanks. And these are photographs which are clear enough to show that no extraterrestrial vehicle is going to carry naval guns or tank guns of a very normal and recognizable terrestrial design. These were not alien UFOs. These were German-built, terrestrially built, undoubtedly German because nobody else had the technology. When you see pictures of this, you see documentaries which show that they left and went to the moon and Mars in '49. One has to ask questions, maybe earlier. Where did they manage to complete this technology? Where did it get buried? Where have they been? Where else have they gone beyond the moon and Mars? And what have they done with this technology? Here. This is the big unknown.
And so this is actually the very reason I've been talking and researching the topic of German UFOs and the German secret space programs, because my feeling is that all behind the scenes, the United States and Germany during the war have been controlled by the very same power center. So on a one level up in the conspiratorial hierarchies, two bitter opponents and fighters, usually their corrupt governments, are power source. During the Cold War, the United States and the Soviet Union took part in a vast secret space program for exploration of the solar system and beyond, with flying saucers of basically the reality that we see on Star Trek. So it is very interesting to explore how these little conspiratorial levels go up through the hierarchies, leave the material terrestrial domain and continue through the supermaterial to the non-terrestrial, through the extraterrestrial hierarchies and federations of united planets, all the way to the highest levels of celestial power structures. And so going back in time 100 years and discovering that there may have been a secret British space program, and a recent private interview with a Russian academician from a secret government research institute on anti-gravity basically gives the theoretical explanation of how this could have been done with a hybrid gun, rocket, and anti-gravity technology that the British could easily build at the end of last century. The big question is, if the British and later the Germans had that much and could go to the moon and Mars in 50 years ago, what do we have now? And so we naturally come back to the Philadelphia experiment and to the Phoenix project, because in my opinion, the Philadelphia experiment is not only invisibility and time travel, but it's a teleportation. It's a very important teleportation experiment.
Now, the Philadelphia experiment was really the granddaddy experiment that set the stage for everything that came after it, including the Phoenix project. But the peculiar part, of course, was that the Philadelphia experiment would not have created the disaster and also laid the groundwork for what came later if it had not been for the Phoenix Project. It's a time loop problem. Which came first, the chicken or the egg? In terms of ordinary time, the Philadelphia experiment. Then came later the Phoenix Project. What the Phoenix Project in its final phases really accomplished was the creation of a transportation system in both space and time, which is capable of going anywhere in our galaxy, set a person, an object down, or pick a person or an object up and bring it back to the station, which was the primary one at Montauk.
Without a second station.
Without a second station.
To be on that planet.
No receiver.
One station transportation system.
Right. There was no receiver at the other end. None was required. All of the operation was done from the Montauk end. The technology for this was beyond terrestrial. It was alien technology, and there was a large contingent of aliens involved with the Phoenix Project in developing the last phase of this, the wormholes in space and time aspect. If any of you are familiar with Dr. Carl Sagan and his books and his commentaries on black holes and space, he talked about the possibility, maybe even the feasibility someday, excuse me, of creating wormholes in space and time for travel through the universe without having to go through all of the encumbrance of large ships and long, tiring voyages. We did it at Montauk. It was done in the period from 1977 until it crashed in '83. The project, by the way, has been replaced. It did crash on 12 August '83 because of various reasons, of sabotage being the primary one. But the project was moved to Germany, West Germany. There's an ongoing leg of it there. Additional stations, later ones, P8 and P9 is what they call them. When I say P8 and P9, P1 was the first phase of Philadelphia, which was mind control. P2 was the invisibility prospect. P3 was the program for the wormholes in space and time. There were other interim programs where they made some of this equipment portable. P7 is now on helicopters. It takes 3 large helicopters to do a mind control number over a whole city. And then you have P8 and P9, which is the newer fixed location Phoenix projects. I only have an idea where some of them are located. I do not know if they're operational. I think it's safe to assume they probably are. At least one of those 4 that I know of is at Lake Michaud, Louisiana area, and that, of course, is a huge NASA base. There are 2 more in the U.S. and 1 in Canada from my data. Whether any have been built beyond, I don't know. The Phoenix proved that you can transport a person or an object through space. Let us say if you're going to go from one end of this galaxy far out on one of the spiral arms near the you are dealing with a distance of what is classed as 120,000 light years. Yet elapsed time. The person is inside the tunnel.
How about the person outside of the tunnel?
Well, they won't. Actually, the tunnel goes through and functions as a link to whatever point you connect to, and is therefore, the time link is, for all practical purposes, essentially 0. It's not absolute 0. It may amount to minutes, depending on the distance.
Can the guy that was sent beam back radio message that yes, I arrived on the planet at this and this time, so that you would check?
Theoretically, he could. He could take a video camera with him. He could take a radio transmitter receiver setup so they could communicate back. Or they could use one of the superluminal communication systems, which has been conveniently developed during this period, where they now have a interplanetary and intragalactic communication system, which we didn't build all of, but which our government has access to, which is a C8 system. That means it travels at the speed of light to the 8th power across the galaxy with a phase shift, a matter of a fraction of a second.
So you can
That's operational.
To any point of the galaxy without any lag.
That is operational, that system, and has been for years. In earlier form was a C6 system, which said there was some delay, and so they had to correct that. They wanted instantaneous communication.
Reach out and touch.
Right. You can go through Marvell if you got the right code numbers. But they're very, very restricted.